Check where you pay for your software. I was the senior IT guy in the company for 2 months now. I was still a bit overwhelmed by the job but slowly getting on top of it. I get a call on the company phone. It's someone speaking English. It's one of the senior managers, 3rd in the country ranking. I need you in the head office now. Can I know what this is about? Yeah, we have a serious IT issue. Come over now. Okay, you do know it's a 6-hour drive, of course I know that. Who do you take me for? There's a cab waiting for you outside your office and a plane ticket will be mailed shortly. Don't miss the flight. Well, this must be serious. 2.5 hours later I'm in the head office. The accounting department looks like a hostage situation. Everyone is nearly crying. Top management is shouting. What happened? One of the senior accountants calls me over, shows me a software interface, and error messages with every attempt to operate it. I whisper, how bad is this? Well, nobody can do their job, and we have a pending audit. Shit, when did it start? There was an update yesterday before day's end. I set up in an empty cubicle, as opposed to the main IT office in the same building. I am lost. I had never seen that software, never once been called about it, and it was never mentioned as being my responsibility. I call my manager. As a side note, if management was global, while I was the senior one in the country. Hi, we have a serious problem with X software. I don't really know what to do. Don't do anything. It's not your job, sir. I do the only sensible thing and attempt to contact the software provider. Hello, I am calling on behalf of company from the country. We have a problem since the last software update. Where are you calling from? Country. Please hold. 5 minutes go by. Sorry sir, but we have no clients in country. Dude, what? Our last patch removed support for document formats from country, so what can we do? Is there a rollback possible? No, as I stated, we don't have any clients in country, therefore we are unable to offer support. I straighten my back, go into the management office to the guy that brought me here in the first place. I tell him what I found out. His eyes widen, almost become teary. How could this happen? Well, I'd say we need to find out who pays for this software and correct this. Can I go home now? 2 hours later I'm on the plane back. Next day the mystery was solved. The software provider was never aware of us since the parent company paid for our licenses in a different country. The support they removed took 3 weeks to put back in, and the provider had to hire previous contractors to come and help our accounting department get back on track. TLDR, parent company paid for our software in another country. The software provider removed support for our country since they had no idea about us and had lost its last client in the country. Customer wants to save money deletes local profiles off nearly 1,000 devices. TLDR, customer wants to save money, screws up badly and we can bill them a lot of money to help. I work for a MSP providing outsourced desktop support for a government agency. One of our guys has developed a script to safely remove old profiles from PCs. It's an advanced script that by default deletes profiles not in use for 90 days, or you can specify a date. It detects known profiles that aren't to be deleted, local PC accounts, detects if the profiles have any Office documents or PSD files and skips them if they are there, and also logs all the folders and profiles deleted with timestamps and who ran the script to cover our ass. We have been using it ad hoc for a while, but we proposed to the agency that we can package it up and get it to run every 30 days to remove profiles older than 90 days. They declined it due to cost. We would obviously charge them to create the package and for testing etc. and risk of data loss. Fair enough. Fast forward 6 months to last week, and we get a lot of tickets for users' profiles being wiped while in use and missing data. They didn't want our script, but decided to get someone internal to write on up and deploy it. Instead of deleting profiles greater than 90 days old, the Genuis used delprof to read the last modified date of ntsa.ini instead of ntsa.that. ntsa.ini is rarely updated, so it didn't matter if you were still logged in actively using it. It deleted their profile based on the age of that file. Nearly 1,000 PCs had all their profiles nuked, including ones still in use. Most of them had folder redirection, so no major loss of data, but there are at least 100 that I know of that had locally stored data which is now all gone. This includes PSD files stored locally, Excel spreadsheets, PDF files, you name it. So now comes the fun times, as they have asked us to help recover as much data as we can using recovery tools, which is now all billable time. $. There's a flashing orange light and a strange smell. This customer had a workstation that may have been a gaming PC at one time because it had a clear panel on the side. One of the employees calls us saying they can't get the computer to turn on and that every time they press the power button there is a weird orange flashing light that sparkles a bit and then it turns off again. She also mentions a strange smell but can't quite describe it. We provide software only, not hardware services, so we advise them to contact their IT professional and to not touch that power button again. A couple hours later we get a call from someone who tells us that the computer is fried and they need to install the software on a new computer. That flashing orange light was apparently some chip getting so hot it was glowing. The smell was both that chip burning and the massive layer of sticky dust catching fire. I hear they perform regular maintenance on their equipment now. The plastic sword, we got this printer about 3 years ago. Then I moved to a different city and my uncle took it, only to print merely 200 pages and to give it back in a non-working condition. They said they got it checked and the person was charging them way too much for it to be worth it. They said it was better to just buy a new printer. And so this printer was just lying in my closet collecting dust for 2 years. I came back home a few days back to spend some time with the family. I took this printer out today because I wanted to scan some old photos. And I was like, what the hell, I'll check it once again. I started digging through stuff online, and I could only find out that the error code meant there was some mechanical issue. Then I started tinkering. First I reinstalled the toner. No luck. Then I picked up a screwdriver, and unscrewed the first few shiny looking screws on the printer. They were holding a metal tray at the bottom. This plastic sword came out of the bottom metal tray. The printer is working now. So much for the repair being not worth it. FFSPS. I'm not an IT expert. I am a software engineer. I help out family and friends, and I just find this stuff very interesting. Image, https://postimp.cc/ygqbzkkj. We don't need no stinking badges. I've worked at a small company in IT with about 70 to 80 end users for almost a year now. It's a secure building with card readers and everyone has a badge to open any entrance door. Well, one woman who will remain anonymous has gone through at least 5 badges since I have been at the company, and according to my boss, several more over the years. Keep in mind, with each replacement I have to contact the security company to activate the badge and deactivate the old one, so while it's not a huge deal, it's kind of a pain in the ass. The first one I'm aware of, she scanned at a self-checkout to see what would happen. The second is forever lost to time. The third she let her toddler play with and they broke the chip inside. The fourth her dog got a hold of. The fifth was lost temporarily, but by that time I'd already issued a new one, so I just took it back. I don't think this new one will last long. She's only had it for about 2 weeks, so it's only a matter of time. The tale of the mysterious keyboard and the yoga ball mat. This happened a few summers ago when I was a desktop support temp just trying to learn the ropes. Some users had desktops and others had laptops with docking stations depending on their role. Important for the story. It doesn't matter, we support both. This user had been having trouble for about a week, as far as we know, where their keyboard would mysteriously type random letters and numbers for no reason. She would be typing and random letters and numbers would show up too. The only way for her to fix it was for her to restart her computer and it would come back soon after. With this information from the user, we started troubleshooting. There isn't much you can do but reinstall the drivers or replace the keyboard. So that's what we did. The drivers were replaced and it kept happening. That's when I was sent with a few others to investigate this super weird issue on site. This user had a standard setup with a laptop and docking station where a normal user would close the laptop and work off of the separate monitor and keyboard. She decided she liked the laptop keyboard better and the ability to use it as a second screen. When we approached, it was difficult to keep from laughing since it was apparent what the problem was. The user had just bought a half yoga ball mat to rest her legs on. She had also decided, since she didn't like the separate keyboard, that she would put it on the ground while keeping it plugged in. Which is how the yoga ball mat ended up on top of the keyboard. Here is the theory: she would work and want to rest her legs, so she would put them on the yoga ball mat, which would press the keys when she moved it. Then she would get frustrated, take her legs off the yoga ball mat to restart the laptop, fixing the problem. And then restart the process. I will never get a better story than this. Leave the money on the counter and you better not be there when I arrive. This customer was just rotten, and add to that a server crash. Looking back, I think he was going through some tough times because 15 years later he's a decent guy. But while he was a steaming pile of poop, this guy owned a hotel and was cheap. I know, shocker. We should have known there was a problem when he started crossing out parts of the support contract, like the part requiring him to maintain an on-site backup if they don't use ours. We had a really old backup app that we installed anyway because it's better than nothing. We no longer support it, and it was just there because he refused anything else. A couple years later, the peak vacation season of that year is about to hit them in 2 days and the server crashes. They have no backups. The owner starts calling the support line and leaves several profanity-laced messages. Then he emails sales and support demanding that we come fix his mess. Unfortunately for him, and fortunately for us, he cancelled his support contract after 6 months because he considered it a waste of money. The person on call emails him to let him know that he has no support contract and doesn't use our backup service, so he'll need to contact his IT professional for assistance. This sets off a few profanity-laced emails in which he insults several of us by name and the company in general for taking his money all these years but providing no help. He hadn't paid us a penny in a couple years. Our CEO gets wind of this because he likes to check in on the support mailbox from time to time, and tonight was one of those nights. He tells us to let the customer know he will not be helped and that any number he calls from will be blocked because of his abusive attitude. Since I've had the most interaction with this guy and was involved in the install, I'm picked to break the good news. But I have a thought. I remember that we installed that old, unsupported and unreliable backup, and maybe it's still running. I propose to the CEO that I write up a short contract stating that I will come to his hotel representing myself, not my company, which has chosen to sever ties with him. The CEO agrees to this and tells me to go for it. I write up the short contract and add a couple things. I will be paid $500 whether or not I can find the data. I will use only software tools already installed on site, so no data recovery apps or hardware recovery services. I will work a maximum of 6 hours. He will leave the money in cash form in an envelope on the counter at the front desk. A signed copy of the contract will be in that envelope. He has to leave the property while I'm there. He emails back that the money is waiting for me and asks that I be there as soon as possible. I arrive about an hour later and get to work. The server hard drive is making a clicking and grinding noise. I'm pretty sure software isn't fixing this. The guy working that night was there during the initial install, and when I asked about the backup we installed, he said that it was still being run. He also said that after they added a second workstation about a year ago, he modified the backup to make a copy on that second workstation. This guy's actions saved the owner's ass. Without the backup, tens of thousands of dollars in advance deposit payments would be unaccounted for. All those reservations would be gone, and he'd have no way to prove who had a reservation or prepaid without time-consuming research. A nightmare for the busiest weekend of the year. Because of this employee's decision to add the second workstation to the destination list on the backup, they only lost a couple hours of work. In the end, I spent about an hour there. I restored the software to the second workstation and even tried installing the server hard drive in the workstation, but it was dead. I left with $500 in my hand and a customer who would later email me and thank me for coming out, even tough he had acted unprofessionally.